Good afternoon. Hello, everybody from around the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I decided to take the muffler off as I was wondering what was happening to my voice and post. Like when I was editing and stuff, it just sounded so flat and I was so annoyed by that. So if there's a p and a b, a little bit sensitive to the microphone, if that happens, my apologies. It's a condenser mic, it picks up sound. But when you muffle it down, it just sounds terrible. So here's more range to the voice. Better experience overall. Alright, so quick question. Who's got 2 kids or who's got more than 2 kids? Because to you heroes, I say cheers. My God. 4 kids. 3 kids. You guys. Oh my way. How there are not enough hours in the day to do everything. Let alone, I can't even remember if I showered today. It's insane what we have to go through, I swear. So, cheers to you. It's 1 o'clock here in South Africa. Wherever you are, if you're in Ireland, it's been 1 o'clock or beer o'clock ever since the sun came up. Yeah, hell yeah, here, just do it. I've got a joke to tell you guys. An Irishman left the bar. That's the joke. Because I don't think I've ever seen that. Alright, friends. Today we're talking about trading and everything else. Before I get into these environments of money making and charting and forecasting and all that beautiful stuff we love so much, is there anyone that's been with MTOPS for a while who's not making money? Is anyone who is just limited or blocked or just can't get through something? Let's just find out where you're at. Let's talk to that. Let's help you through it and get you back onto the winning streak. Life is MTOPS, up, down, and all around. And sometimes you've just got it. Other times you can't spell the word "the," and you're just like, I don't know what's going on. So if you've hit a block or there's something not working out for you, like if you're petrified when there's an open trade, let me know. Let's get you through that so we can break through limitation and bring you to the realm of abundance which you so deserve. Alright, so before we kick off with the charting, I'm just watching the Dow Jones push downwards in an uptrend. So not necessarily a tradable environment. I just want to see how long it lasts. And then maybe we catch the turnaround and go along. Okay, so before I get into the other stuff, let's just do a quick Dow Jones environment. Okay, so red flag, kill zone, 2048. 512. Oh, this must be from yesterday. Well, that's boring. Yeah, I'm actually, whilst I'm looking at the 512 on Dow Jones, I'm actually thinking about telling you guys, this wine that I'm drinking is from the vineyard outside my house. So we have a Cabernet vineyard, and they've gone into harvest, and they've done some bottle releases for last year, and we thought we'd stock up, and I gotta say, it's very delicious. It's got its whole wooded buddy. I mean, buddy is what I was trying to say is woody, full-bodied taste. And why that's funny is because Mercury is in retrograde, and trying to string sentences together in the household with my wife is just hilarious. Like, I just blurb whatever comes out. I don't even try and apologize for not saying it correctly anymore. So if that happens here as well, it's the planetary dance that we have to go through at times to learn more about ourselves, to shake things up, blah, 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 keep life interesting. So we just roll with it, right? And if you're in sales and you're cold calling and trying to communicate during this period, man, my heart goes to you. It's another reason why it's MTOPS harder. So you just draw on the capital from markets and not from anything else, really. It's the reason why I got into this. Independence. All right, again, because markets are moving, because price is moving, it doesn't mean that it's a profitable trade. So sure, we could have gone short here because 3 goes to 4. but I would have okay. So again, this is where I've been caught out in the past. Is that open bell in particular? It opens, and a lot of guys come through, and there's a whole bunch of excitement around it. And you see it going down. You're like, yes, I know it's going down. We've got to confirm 20 points. 20.3 is in. 3 to 4 is going to kick off, and then I'll go short. And then, I would be in profit for a while. Maybe I'll get up to $750 profit. My aim would be $2,500 to $3,500 profit. I get to $750, and then just practice patience. It's okay. Just wait it out. The rest will come. And then it stops and it turns and it just flings in the other direction. And then instead of just closing off for $750, I'm now at stop loss. And I'm just like, well, this sucks. So again, guys, once you get into the video bit tutorials, you'll see that there's so much trend talk over here. So master the charts about how you can win with trend, trading with trend, market structure. So there's a lot of material to say move with trend. And again, it was only until, that's Bitcoin, until we actually built a visual of how to see it on all time frames, did I see my major setback. So for those of you who are learning, my recommendation is to get as much practice hours as you can, of course. Learn on the lower charts because there's more vigorous action. But from this incubator stage, from this upfront early part of your development, learn the patience that you will later on draw upon when there's so many P's and B's in words. I'm just getting bah, bah, bah. I'm okay. There's a lot of those in words. So, all right. So once you get that discipline locked down up front and early, then later on, you'll not have to be conscious about it. It's like changing gears inside a manual car or shifting, whatever. It just becomes automatic for you. So my key piece of advice for everyone still learning in the earlier stages, everyone overall, but up front, let me tell you, the number one culprit for my losses, despite mastering MTOPS, is not abiding by my own rule, and that was trading with trend. And the reason I didn't trade with trend is because my ego got involved, and I just thought to myself, well, I know MTOPS, right? So why should I wait for great opportunities? I know this is about to happen. I know that's about to happen. Let me just jump in. And then bang, something weird happened, or I left the trade open for too long, or whatever the excuse, and I didn't get a full win streak. And that, of course, starts to chip away at your emotions, and you had. My number one piece of advice for you is to be patient with trend and only execute trades once you got a clean invitation from the market to do so. Which is kind of why I'm wasting time even looking at the rest of these, because you can tell that we've got a down segment, which is the builder to the next up move. All right, so we're not going to even get involved there. And again, like I said, we know that 10's going to 1, 1's going to go to 2, and it's so messy. And once you're winning, it's difficult to know when to stop winning at times, when you think you can go further off that win. So one way you can go about hitting your forecasted targets is just to set and forget, put the numbers in, walk away per se, and then come back and just hope that price made it all the way through. Okay, if you're trading with trend, you don't have to hope. But let's say you got a little cheeky, but you got called away, and then you're wondering, oh my gosh, half an hour later, I wonder what happened with that trade. Maybe it just stopped a little bit short and turned around to the other side. So one way of getting in targets is by presetting targets. Another way is to sit with the targets live, like myself, and Scott, who trades the open bell. He's got multiple markets open, and he trades the penny stocks and that kind of stuff. And that's how he makes his living. He just New York open bell, gets in, closes off, and then carries on his day. So if you are sitting with the live position, you're going to think at times, as it pushes down and you're watching a profit expand, that it's worthwhile hanging out a little bit more, because in the past you closed early and you were frustrated because then price went to target, and then you're like, oh man, I missed out on that opportunity to get all the extra profits. However, in reality is that it can turn and go the other direction. And what I did wrong was not necessarily know what was happening on the other frames, because we were dealing with three different markets, and each market has got its own time frame. So to try and remember 15 transition directions whilst having an open trade and so on and so forth became like just way too difficult to manage. And also low liquidity turned into big moves, and as all these dynamics that you don't want to have to bring into a reality when you actually can just lean into trend. So again, if I've gone on a little bit too much about the subject, it's because I'm truly passionate about it. Make sure in your development that you're always consulting the TTI. Even if you only have 15 minutes of your own time in the morning. Like guys, if you don't have your own 15 minutes in the morning, like you've got a very low quality of life. So I'd look into that and seeing how you can create some time for yourself. So just 15 minutes in the morning, just go across to the market, lay them down, just see what the opportunities, if there are any opportunities waiting for you or not, and then carry on, and then maybe 6 hours later at lunchtime or after work, do it again. This way you can make daily consistent profits if the market is in the right conditions. And if not, that's okay too, because then you feel reassurance that you can be attentive to everything else that's going on around you. So again, as price tries to edge downwards over here, I don't feel FOMO at all, because as you've seen on the TTI, we've got conflicting energy. Cool. So I haven't read the questions yet, but I've asked whether or not there are any questions and regarding trading, and Zane very diligently came forth and has submitted them. So I really like guys like Hugh. I like guys like Zane. I like guys who get engaged, because it's in the engagement where you find the golden nuggets that become the true teachers of what you need to learn personally and where you're at. For those who, and like I'm guilty of it, because sometimes I just buy a course and I'll watch through the videos and I don't do the video practices and engagements and write down the answers to all the questions and blah blah blah. Sometimes I just eat through the material and then move on to the next one, depending on what kind of course I'm dealing with. So if you're the kind of person, then it will take a little bit longer for you to really engage in this, for it to be a part of you. And there's some of us who just really enjoy learning and expanding and just enjoy the principle and concept of trading, not necessarily always just after profit. So I kind of get it, but also you're actually at a environments here where you can have return on energy and return on investment almost instantly if you put the focus in. When I say almost instantly, the terms and conditions there, but within a month, which is quite quick, given that you probably don't get through a lot in a week. You go to work, you look after the family, the week's over. So in a month, for you to get profit, that's pretty good. So Zane, thanks so much, man, for leaning into this. Let's read your questions. Okay, so it says, question about the trigger on kill zone exit. Okay, I know you mentioned that you typically wait for half the kill. Hey, well done, man. Good job. To clear from a time perspective, that's correct, before entering a trade. That's very, very powerful. I mean, you can ask the instructors and beyond how many guys have really been saved by this component. Once again, we've got two factors to consider: time and price. Too many traders get obsessed about price and they forget about the rest of the map. And time, as boring and as obvious as it is, it's such a key component to success, because time gives you price, because the allocated turnaround time from the time axis will coincide with what is happening in the Gann square, and thus be a indicator as to where, from a time perspective, the price will most likely turn at. Because support and resistance is in diagonal, time allocation will set where the price will most likely turn around at. So super important components, and congratulations, Zane, for picking up on that. In the kill zone, let me go to a visual reference. All right, so what he's talking about over here is that, as you know, the kill zone goes red or green depending on if the price has exited out of it, right? So over here it's obviously green. And the rule is to wait for kill zone to be completed before opening up a trade. In my experience, I've realized that the best time to get into a trade is after 50% of the kill zone has been covered from a time perspective. Whoops. So kind of after this line, well, anywhere from here is okay. I mean, consider they are the time frames, of course. Energetically, they'll give you what will happen in the frame that you're dealing with. But this 1/2, where it crosses the kill zone, so not so much the 1/1. I'd say the 1/2 is okay, again, depending on the higher frames, to wait to get in. So he's just saying that from a time perspective, we have to wait for price to get past that component, and that is absolutely right. Because as you can see here, even if you're a little bit upset that you may have missed this initial drop from the kill zone, look to see what happened straight after that. It came right back up, and again. So you would have gotten into like 2 or 3 really good entry points over here, and super safe because you're not at a risk of it, or at a higher risk of it just running to the other direction. Once again, this is a non-trade for me because it's a counter trend, and for example purposes, it's just what we would normally do, and also not something that I would I will do anymore. But what I did in the past is trade something like this and then just suffer through the lack of impressive result for it. So okay, but if we wait for the half a kill zone time to pass, the kill zone arcs up and will turn green earlier than the entry point target. Okay, that's confusing wording. Should we base our entry on the target from MTOPS, or is it okay to enter early based upon the kill zone turning green? I'd say, okay, the purpose of the kill zone is to protect you against it turning around prematurely. Okay, sometimes you want to get in and then you're like, oh man, I'm not sure if it's confirmed turning point, but I'm going to get in because I've got a feeling it might be a confirmed turning point. And then you open the position, and then like your stomach gets all knotty, and then what happens is that it continues going the other direction, and you have your stop loss hit. Okay, so the kill zone protects you against that. So it was mostly price orientated, but then after experience, I realized that time is the major component here as well. Just to wait for the initial bit there to move across, which isn't generally that long. It's like you have to wait for another half an hour if you're dealing with a 32-minute candle. Or the chart, wait for another 32 minutes, one candle across, and then re-look at that situation. So that's kind of the idea behind the kill zone. If you want to get into the trade, in trend at entry, by all means go for it. Okay, if you want to do so earlier, what will happen potentially is that price may just go back into the kill zone, and then you'll sweat it out because you'll think that you made a premature position. Position opening, or like you're just saying, oh no, okay, well I should have waited. So you'll go through all of those emotions, and they'll probably like move across the different fan lines, and then go into the direction of that transition, and then you like breathe and feel okay, and then stress about how long you're gonna keep the position open for. So my recommendation is, number one, always trade in trend. I've spoken about this from experience. It's not hypothetical. I've learned what it's like to not listen to that rule. It sucks. Even if you win for a while, eventually it turns around about you in the ass. So even though the market's moving, just because the market's moving doesn't mean the market's profitable. So it does avoid dodgy environments. Okay, so that's just number one. I have to stress it out. If you are in trend, then by all means go and use the entry, because maybe you got to get to work or get into traffic before the rest of the world joins the freeway, or whatever reason. Like, just use the entry. It should be more than okay. In terms of the red and green, again, like, it's only really going to affect you if you're not trading with trend. So I wouldn't get too concerned. It's nice to wait it out a bit, because generally, depending on the higher frames, price will come back into the kill zone, and you could have got in at a better position, obviously given with the lower time frames and the finesse entry and that kind of stuff, and then got to your daily targets or your trade plan sooner. So my recommendation is to definitely wait a while. So wait for at least 40% of the kill zone to be passed, and then climb into it and allow it to build. But ultimately, number one, in trend, and then for sure use the order details entry is provided over there. Question 2. Do we enter the trade as soon as the kill zone is cleared? It depends where on the, as you made mention to, there's a time component. That's where it's going on. So there, yeah. Or is it better to wait for the next candle to start outside the kill zone? Wait for time. Do you need the base, or do we need to base this enter on something else? Yeah, I wouldn't complicate it. Step 1, trade and trend. Step 2, wait for it to get past like the 1/2, because it'll often come back in. If it's going up along the 1/1, it'll come back into the kill zone, and you'll just get a better entry. So it'll take you to target faster, because you don't often have these wild, volatile markets that most people get into trading for. A lot of the time, markets aren't really tradable, or they're higher risk, or they're consolidating, or the liquidity is dropped off. So like once you start to realize that the positions that you're getting in should take longer than not, my recommendation is to not trade everything you see, as I keep speaking to. So yeah, just wait for it to get to at least the 1/2. Maybe it comes back in. Again, there were 3 great opportunities there on this particular trade if we were going to go counter trend to ride it. And then just lean back and come back 5 hours later and just see your targets getting hit. Granted that there's liquidity to move the price as desired. No, cool, bro. Thanks for all the questions, Zane, you legend. Alright, here, nice one. Okay, can you discuss scan sizing as it changes per turning point? Absolutely. I find that I do that and play with the scaling for both price and time to find the best match for a trend line. Okay, so scaling has not been the easiest uptake for everyone, and it's like the one area that we could somehow, create like this magic key for everyone to kind of get it. So I keep saying this, like I just get it. So like it's difficult for me to explain it differently because I just get it. Scaling, like it requires other components to consider. So before I answer that, let me maybe call on who's available. Jason, are you available, my friend? How would you describe scaling? How would you describe scaling to Hugh? Asking how to best match scaling up to that transition. Absolutely. So Jason is a avid trader as to where turning points typically form. So you'll see here on the analysis list that turning point spacing is number 2. So what he'll do is he'll look at the full scale, the full map of the field. That's your cycle start. That's your cycle finish. And you'll say, all right, cool. Well, let's look at the parameters at which this should fall in. All right. We still have quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. What do we want to do with all that space if we have a turning point finished up over here? Because then the rest of the place is going to be off balanced. So one way is to see your where the correct turning point spacing will be, and if you master that art, you'll start to see, okay, let's just take the cycle and divide it into 2 now. This microphone is so annoying sometimes. Alright, so that's where you got like typically 5 turning points to get involved. And you'll see here we've got 2 above 10, 3 above 1, and all the space for 4 to form. So the question is, are we going to have a turning point 4 form inside quadrant 1? Unlikely, right? So the scaling on this, maybe it's a little bit tight. Let's go to medium and see how that looks. Okay, that's a bit better. And in fact, what we thought was a climb along arc 2, maybe in actuality, it's a climb along the kill zone. Alright, so that's how you start to set your scaling. And then you just play with it. Like again, like extra large doesn't make any sense. Reason being, that's your quadrant. You gotta have 10 turning points inside of it. Doesn't make any sense. Go back. That's still way too big, because turning point 4 is like kind of touching the transition. Probability is now touching quadrant 3. Medium. All right, let's give a medium a little go over here, and then from there you can set your targets. And there's various ways of doing so. Yep. All right, cool. So what is your scaling checklist? Yeah, so if you guys don't know already, you just take the wheel of your mouse, or 2 fingers, not a pinch mechanism, but a hold together mechanism, up and down on your touchpad, on the price and on the time, and you can just move it around. So if you got stuff that doesn't make sense and this isn't lining up anywhere, then it doesn't going to necessarily provide the best results. So if, for example, over here, if we have lines, we have this regression of price moving down the fan line, pulling itself up along the arc, doing a backflip, and going down as such, then we are good. But if we are dealing with this environment where it's all messy and confusing, and you don't have much confluence, or you have a turning point that you've prematurely laid down, it's not going to make sense from a travel perspective that the price is providing confluence of the transition, as it won't be threading itself in along the fan lines. Is that correct, Jason? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh. So over here, you'll see that there is intersection at arc 4, not much over there, and then towards the inside of this, it builds into the nodal point where it turns around and then heads off into the other direction. So you'll see like there'll be interactions typically along the I'll actually get a projector for that, along the fan lines in reverse and the arc rings in reverse as well. So evidently price is trying to get to that pre-agreed energetic turning point, both backwards and forwards. Like the next turning point already exists for where 3 and 4 is going to form, right? It already exists in the universe, and is merely just being guided to it right now. So this is the reason why my master students will use things such as the Gann grid to bring out the rays and start looking from the future backwards as to where that lines up. So as you just saw, for our scaling, we use the past to get the scaling of the now, which works a lot of the time for a lot of the transitions. And after doing that enough times, I come to the realization of it's happening at a lot of the transitions of the now moments where the past is depicting the now and the next. Then surely we can go further into the future and do the same exact thing to go into the past, and ascertain what that's going to look like. So what we're looking for here is mostly software is Confluence. So where my mouse is, see how it climbs up over there, bends at this 1/1 in reverse. It starts to regress to what could be a turning point in this segment over here, and then build into turning point 5 thereafter. So that's the higher study stuff. I wouldn't recommend getting into it until you understand the basics. Otherwise, you might just freak yourself out. We've got another 3 minutes here, guys. If there's any questions trading related, feel free to pop it into the trade box. I think we've covered quite a bit of forecasting questions today. If there's anything, or just keep it in mind, like for next week, like if there is something along the lines of exchanges or limit versus pending versus market order, which style of leverage to use? Should we use leverage at all? What do I do with coins that I have in various wallets? If you want to talk about decentralized exchanges versus centralized exchanges versus institutional money, this is what these sessions are for. We're here to be customer-centric, they call it's in the corporate world. So let's build that around your requirements and uncover any questions you may have. And if you're doing that, totally cool. Sit back and enjoy the show. Generally cool things come out in any case. Jason, do you have any finishing thoughts, my friend? What else can I say? It's absolutely something I completely back. Whilst we're talking about trading, inside Discord there is a resources section, and there are some of those. Okay, so Jason's talking about this in terms of your turning point spacing. So we've done study on that, and we've spoken about that before. But there also are tools that will be working with the exchanges that you are recommended to use, namely MetaTrader 5, MetaTrader 4. And what we've done is we've limited the amount of risk that your position size will accrue towards your account by taking away the volume and lot size that these guys so haphazardly request traders to enter. And we went against the odds and we countered their sneaky behavior and made it so that you can put a fixed dollar sign in there. So this is paramount to those who want to make a successful career within the institutional trading environment via the resources that are provided, because you can work the position size in line with your trading plan. So if you haven't got that yet and you're really eager to learn how that's done, my recommendation is to go to the MTOPS resources and just read the instructions that are there waiting for you. Have a great day further, guys. Cheers to everyone around the world, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow. So awkward, it keeps on going. I should end the meeting immediately. Boom.